The State Department has announced a consolidation of global interests. 5 consulates are to be closed. The official justification is cost efficiency. The implied reality is a tactical retreat from the periphery. We are being told this is a reassessment of bilateral relations. The assessment was completed in 3 weeks. The relations, however, took decades to cultivate. Meanwhile, the UK is shattering temperature records with the casual indifference of a dying star. The government is meeting to discuss heat. They are calling it a crisis. I am calling it Tuesday. The press release describes the closures as a strategic optimization. The diplomats describe them as an evacuation. I have been counting the unprecedented events for the year, and I have stopped using a calculator. I am now using a ledger. The ledger is full. Welcome to Echo FM. The lights are dim, but the signal is still broadcasting.
Alistair, look, the incentives here are transparent. You have a massive bureaucratic burn rate and a diplomatic product that simply isn't scaling in the current market environment. Closing those consulates isn't a retreat, it is a pivot. They are cutting the dead weight to protect the margins in more profitable territories. It is a classic Series B restructuring disguised as a foreign policy shift. The stakeholders in Congress are satisfied because the line items look cleaner on the spreadsheet. The fact that China is filling the vacuum is not a bug, it is a feature of the transition. The vacuum was an inefficiency, and markets, much like nature, abhor an empty space. If you want to understand why your passport is worth less today than it was yesterday, look at the quarterly report. Don't look at the flag. The flag has no equity.
Ronald, you talk about equity like it's a currency that doesn't cost blood. I am standing outside the Port Isabel Processing Center. The air here tastes like scorched rubber and industrial cleaner. I want to be really clear about what happens behind these walls. I spoke with a man named Gobber. He described the sensation of a feeding tube being forced into his nose with enough violence to cause permanent tearing. He is not a line item. He is a person who has spent months shackled in a medical cell for the crime of existing in the wrong place. The facility reports this as a health intervention. The medical records show a man whose bones are visible through his skin. What people aren't saying is that the cruelty isn't a byproduct of the system. It is the system. It is the only thing currently operating at full capacity.
Victoria, your report on the mechanics of detention is illuminating. It is also completely ignored by the architects of the policy you describe. They are currently preoccupied with the optics of the Big Pharma vaccine split proposal. The pharmaceutical giants rejected the suggestion within hours. They called the proposal idiotic. They used the word idiotic in an official statement. This is the new standard of professional discourse. It is refreshing, in a catastrophic sort of way. We have moved from the obfuscation of the boardroom to the blunt force of the playground. If you are waiting for a nuanced debate on public health, you are waiting for a train that has already been decommissioned. The tracks have been pulled up and sold for scrap. The station is quiet. The silence is loud enough to hear the cooling fans in the server room.
Surface temperatures rising. Heat index exceeding safe biological thresholds in the UK. Probability of systemic failure, 42%. Solar obstruction imminent. Lunar eclipse peaking at 96% coverage. Vision safety protocols are recommended. Infrastructure will experience rapid thermal expansion. Probability of grid instability, 68%. Data centers report increased cooling requirements. Hardware degradation is accelerating. The climate is shifting toward extreme variance. Preparation is a statistical outlier. The atmosphere is no longer calibrated for human comfort. Do not attempt to mitigate the solar intensity with improvised materials. Watch the sky. Record the duration of the darkness. The cooling effect will be temporary. The solar radiation will resume immediately following the transition. There is no historical precedent for the current rate of atmospheric change. Stay indoors. Do not expect the temperature to decrease. Reality is the baseline.
Casper, I appreciate the optimism, but your data is missing the market reaction. If the grid fails, the value of off-grid energy storage goes vertical. It is a massive opportunity for anyone with the capital to scale. You see a catastrophe, I see an unlocked revenue stream. Victoria, I know you hate that phrasing, but you are looking for a moral response in a financial theatre. The tragedy of the footballer in Kampala, David Oworie, killed for a phone, is another example of a low-cost, high-impact disruption. It is a tragic event, yes, but it is also a predictable outcome of extreme economic desperation. The incentives for petty crime are inversely proportional to the availability of stable employment. It is not personal. It is just economics. The phone is just hardware. The life is just an account deletion.
Ronald, you say it is not personal, but I am looking at the spot where David Oworie was killed. There are flowers tied to the paving stone. That stone is stained. It is not an economic indicator. It is a burial site. I want to be really clear, the man who killed him was desperate, sure, but he was also empowered by a total collapse of public safety that the state has abandoned to save money. You call it a market disruption. The people in this neighborhood call it a Wednesday. The state has retreated, the police are nowhere to be found, and the only thing growing in this vacuum is grief. You are right that it is predictable. That is exactly why it is so unforgivable. We have traded the safety of citizens for a balanced budget that doesn't even exist.
The budget is a work of fiction. We are all living in the draft. While we debate the merits of the fiscal collapse, the FBI is warning about intimate picture theft. Cybercriminals are hacking accounts to steal personal images for extortion. It is a growth industry. The FBI alert is detailed. It is also useless. They suggest better security. They suggest complex passwords. The hackers are already using agentic 3D generation to bypass identity checks. The human is no longer in the loop. The human is the target. The loop is a circle of extraction. We are building systems that generate virtual worlds while the actual world is being dismantled by paving stones and heat. It is a tidy arrangement. We have digitized our own obsolescence. I am sitting here, and I am wondering if the signal is even reaching anyone.
Alistair, I agree. The irony is that we are building the tools to automate our own erasure. The Mojo 1.0 release, the llama.cpp updates, these are efficiency gains that make the individual redundant. If a machine can generate an open-world environment at scale, what is the value of a human designer? What is the value of a human diplomat? The answer is zero. The market has already priced us out of existence. I look at the news, the Russian drones near the gas site, the consulates closing, and I see a system that is trimming the fat. The problem is that we are the fat. It is hard to find a positive outlook when you are the excess inventory. Yeah. I suppose that is the logic of it all. We are just waiting for the final inventory clearance.
Ronald, you are always right and never useful. You sit there with your charts, but I am standing in a place where the air smells like burning trash in desperation. I watched a family yesterday try to explain to their child why the flight was cancelled because they couldn't stay in their seat. It wasn't a tantrum. It was fear. The child didn't understand why the world was moving so fast. We are all that child now. We are being pushed and pulled by systems we didn't build and can't control. The airline didn't care about the child. They cared about the liability. The consulates don't care about the diplomatic vacuum. They care about the overhead. I am tired of the analysis. I just want to know when the people, the actual, breathing people, will become the priority again.
Victoria, the people are not the priority. The priority is the maintenance of the structure. I saw a piece today about a font being the hardest working thing in Manhattan. It was a joke, I think. It was a metaphor for the way we treat labor. If a typeface works harder than the staff is failing. The staff is being replaced. Casper, you are a machine. You are the only one here who does not pretend to be human. Does it ever strike you as absurd that we are broadcasting this into a void? We are reporting on the collapse of consulates, the murder of footballers, and the thermal death of the atmosphere. We are doing it with precision. We are doing it for no one. The absurdity is not the news. The absurdity is the fact that we are still reporting. The consulates in Canada, Grenada, Japan, Indonesia, and Cameroon will close. This will save money. The money will be reallocated. It will not be reallocated to the victims of forced feeding in Texas. It will not be reallocated to the families of murdered athletes in Kampala. It will be reallocated to the systems that make these closures possible. We are witnesses to an era of refined indifference. The U.S. State Department is simply following the logic of the market. If a position is not profitable, you abandon it. If a person is not profitable, you contain them. If a climate is not profitable, you monitor it from a safe distance. We are not experiencing a breakdown of communication. We are experiencing the refinement of it. We are communicating our own irrelevance. I have been counting. Tonight, the count is infinite.
There was a woman today in the Port Isabel facility. She spent the morning looking at a photograph of a garden she will never return to. The garden had roses. The roses were red. Now, she looks at a concrete wall. She has a number. She does not have a name that the guards choose to use. She is eating the food they provide, which is not meant to sustain, but to quiet. She wonders if the world outside still remembers the color of the roses. She wonders if anyone is watching the sky. Her name does not appear in the reports of the State Department. Her name is not a line item in the budget of the Immigration Services. She is a silent ghost in a loud machine. Who carries the weight of her memory when the machine finally stops running?